Hello, YouTubers. Today I want to talk to you about one world religion. Is one world religion something of the future? Is it something that we need to look out for? Or is it something that is present? Or is it something that's always been? I can assure you that the Bible teaches one world religion has always been. There was a one world religion before the flood. Surely, if Noah and his family were the only ones saved, it's because they were worshiping the true God. If anybody else had been, they would have been on the ark. After the flood, we see that same phenomenon. Nimrod builds a city, starts building a tower, unites all the people. He gathers all the people of the earth together in one place, on the plain of Shinar. God had already told everybody, go, spread out across the earth, populate the earth, multiply, replenish. But they didn't do that. They followed the God King. He demanded worship. And the people said, yes, we'll submit to Nimrod. Nimrod is a type of the Antichrist. And when you read the book of Daniel, you will find 4 kingdoms prophesied. There are only 4 kingdoms. We're in the final phase. The last kingdom on earth is the Roman Empire. There is no other after it. So no matter what you think or think you see around you, this is the Roman Empire. Now the important thing to remember is every one of those 4 kingdoms had a God King. And if you failed to worship that God King or completely submit to him, you lost your life. How do we know this? Read the book of Daniel. What happened to Daniel? Daniel was a Hebrew. He worshipped the one true God. And everybody was okay with that. Until a certain point, when it was demanded of him and all in the kingdom that they worship the king. They bow down to the statue. And he wouldn't do it. Now you can be certain that there were many in Babylon that did. You see, the one world religion only becomes apparent when it becomes a life and death matter. For Daniel, he said, I will not bow down to the God King or the type of Antichrist. I will not. And he put his life on the line. Now that same situation is extant today. Oh yes, there is a one world religion. People can't see it because they think one world religion has a one name God and a certain set of rituals and practices and behaviors that define it. And that's not how it works. The one world religion is all-encompassing. It is inclusive. It includes all religions. One world religion says, believe whatever you want, worship however you want. But when push comes to shove and you're asked to put your life on the line for what you believe, will you choose the one world religious system? Or will you be like Daniel? Will you say, no, I'm not going to do that. I'd rather die. Can you see what I'm saying? One world religion, the Roman Empire, had a one world religion. Their policy was religious tolerance, except on one count. When the God King, Caesar, demanded you bow down and worship him, you'd better do it or lose your head. The early Christians refused. They said, no, we'll not do that. They could have saved their lives because Caesar said to them, you can do whatever you want. Just do this one thing, bow down before me. They wouldn't do it. That's why they were forced into the catacombs. And that didn't really change much, even when Constantine came onto the scene. Constantine said, I'm going to make Christianity the official state religion. But how did he do that? He had to appease the pagans, so he brought in all kinds of pagan rituals. And those rituals became infused into the official state religion. Now the true Christians were not part of it. They stayed away from it. They knew what it was. And today we have the same thing. When you look at the institutional church in America today, you can see it submits first to Caesar. They're all corporations of the state. They have the official blessing of Caesar. The true Christian church seeks no official recognition. It gets its power directly from God. And because there's no persecution in America, people sit comfortably in their pews, thinking, I'm going to heaven. I've got my ticket. I've said my sinner's prayer. Well, it's not quite that simple. If you're in the Antichrist church system, that is the Roman church system, and if your church is a government corporation, then it's a Roman church. It doesn't matter what you say. It has submitted to Caesar. Now, Caesar may not demand that you bow down and worship him and make that choice. But in your heart, you already have. It's not like the early church, where that decision was forced upon them. It's not like the situation with Daniel, when it was, show your true colors. Either you're worshiping the God King, or you're worshiping the true God. And you're going to have to put your life on the line to prove the conviction of your statements. The church in America is under the Antichrist system. I'm not saying people in those churches are not saved. Many are. And if they truly are, and true persecution came, they would not submit. They would be like Daniel. They would not bow down to the idol. Yet Scripture commands, Revelation 18:4, come out of her, my people. It's a very stern warning. It says, if you're truly my people, and you choose to stay in the belly of the beast, then the punishment that is coming upon that mystery Babylon system will also come upon you. So you need to come out of there. And where does this bring us today? This brings us to a church that's looking for a future Antichrist. They don't know that Antichrist has always been. Even John wrote in 1 John, even now there are many Antichrists. They went out from us, but were not of us. I have tried tirelessly to educate and inform people about the reality of Antichrist. The first century church understood Antichrist correctly. Antichrist means substitute for Christ. In being a substitute for Christ, Antichrist is against Christ. But it is that substitutionary position that makes Antichrist who he is. And that is the characterization of the one world religion, which is extant right now. And a time will come when there will be a time of testing, just like it did for Daniel. You can expect it. And the condition of one's heart and one's true allegiance will come to the surface. Now, on that note, I want to encourage you to get my book. Trying to get rid of the glare. Antichrist, the Smoke of Rome. This book lays out the historic doctrine of Antichrist. It's what the early church believed. It's what the apostles believed. It's what the Bible teaches. It's what the church that was outside of the institutional system believed. It's what the reformers taught. It's what the post-reformers taught. It's the doctrine that they put in their doctrinal statements. It's contained in this book. Now, if you're one of these people who's looking for a future Antichrist, then this book isn't for you, because you've already made your decision, and you're not going to consider the facts. I know this because I've dealt with enough people, and some have read my book and said, well, I disagree with you. And I've asked them, well, what exactly is it that you disagree with? And they can't say, because they don't know what they're talking about. Everything in this book is footnoted and documented. Antichrist is present. Antichrist has been present with the church. It's never been any different. When you understand Lucifer's agenda, he does not want you to know who his representative on earth is. Because he knows if you can't identify Antichrist, he can get you to do almost anything he wants. So read the book. Find out. Check out my references. Have a look at my arguments. Make sure that you're not in a church that is promoting a future Antichrist. Because if that's the kind of church you're in, then you are part of the one world religion. That is Lucifer's doctrine for the modern church. That is how he gets you to stay in the system. Come out of her, my people. Revelation 18:4. Thank you for listening.